When it comes to armor in Monster Hunter, defenses and resistances are nice, but what you really want are the armor skills. This guide series is going to focus on a progression path you can easily follow for a reasonable build to get you through low rank and high rank. In low rank, progression is fairly linear and there isn't a lot of need to deviate. High rank is much more open-ended and will have many more options for you to explore. High rank builds will focus on decorationless and charmless setups, as those require rare materials and a lot of luck for decorations. You will need to make a choice between alpha and beta gear. Alpha gear has more skills, but sometimes has skills that aren't particularly useful on them. The beta versions usually give up skills for decoration slots. If you don't have decorations, the alpha sets are always better. If you have powerful decorations, the beta pieces are usually the better option, as it will allow for further customization. These builds are reasonably effective and will be sufficient for getting you through the game. You may have skills that you favor on certain weapon types that aren't listed, and you should experiment to learn your playstyle. Your default armor is terrible, and you'll want to upgrade it right away. The easiest thing you can do is just build the entire bone set. This will be mostly beneficial for the headpiece's health boost, granting you plus 15 maximum HP, and the bone chest's attack up, granting you plus 3 attack power. The remaining bone pieces will benefit certain weapon types and not others. The gloves will give Slugger, which is good for blunt weapons like hammer, hunting horn, and file attacks from the charge blade and switch axe. Bone coil is only good for hunting horn, but it will extend the length of your songs. The bone greaves grant entomologist, which helps prevent you from destroying vespoids and hornitars so you can carve them. Regardless of the skills it offers, this set is extremely easy to build and represents a good armor value spike that you should take starting out. Early on, you'll be given an assignment to hunt Kestodons. After carving some, you'll unlock the ability to build Kestodon gloves. Build these for affinity sliding, which gives you a temporary boost to your critical hit rate after sliding for a short period of time. They also have a strong defense boost over bone gauntlets and should be picked up for most weapon types. This set will be enough to tide you over until you hunt Great Jagras. Afterwards, you'll want to look into picking up the Jagras coil. This provides Fortify, which gives you an attack and defense bonus if your HP reaches 0 and you're carted back to camp. Fortify is a nice bonus for new players, and even veteran players will cart occasionally. It's a good pickup for all weapon types. Then you'll have to hunt Kulu Yaku. You'll want to build both its Kulu male chest armor and the Kulu Greaves leg armor. The chest grants Stamina Surge, which increases your stamina recovery rate. This is a great skill for every weapon type, but certain weapons will benefit much more from it. The Kulu Greaves grant Critical Eye, which increases your affinity or critical hit rate by 3%. This isn't huge, but going from 0 to 3% affinity will actually allow you to perform critical hits, and it will be a significant damage increase. This will be an acceptable set of baseline armor for the next mandatory fights. From here on, though, things will be handled on a weapon-by-weapon basis. Hammer really favors getting as much damage as possible and really wants ways to increase sharpness. There are a few skills like Slugger and Stamina Thief that do benefit Hammer, but their impact isn't very noticeable in most cases. There isn't a lot of good alternatives early on, so we will be picking some of these up along the way. You may also want to consider using the Bone Gauntlets over the Kestodon Guards. You'll gain Slugger, making it easier to knock out monsters versus the unreliable nature of affinity sliding. Otherwise, the base armor set will have to tide you over to take on Pookie Pookie and Baroth. There are two main upgrades you should pick up from Baroth. Baroth's armor grants Stamina Thief. Stamina Thief makes it take less hits to make a monster tired and need to eat to recover stamina. While a monster is tired, it will stand in place and drool, allowing you to get some free hits. It's not a great pickup, but it's going to be overall better than the Kulu Chest Stamina Surge. Also pick up the Baroth Gauntlets for Marathon Runner. This will reduce your stamina drain while charging your hammer, which will be an extremely common occurrence. Then you'll have to hunt Juratotus. Juratotus' Greaves grant Focus. This reduces the time it takes to charge your hammer. It's an arguable pickup, as occasionally you do want to use the lower tiers of charge to do the uppercut. It's a safe pickup and will be similar in performance to the Kulu Greaves otherwise. Then hunt Tobikadachi. You want to pick up the Kadachi Helm for Constitution. This will reduce the amount of stamina drained while you're dodging, and it's a good defense increase over the Bone Helm. Anjanath is next. If you're finding yourself running low on stamina, consider building its chest armor for a second stack of Marathon Runner. Stamina Thief versus Marathon Runner will be arguable, but in an ideal world, you'll get a plate to be able to upgrade to the Anjanath chest. You'll have to hunt Palumu as part of the story. Palumu's coil will be a good replacement for the Jagras coil, since Divine Blessing is actually extremely helpful for new players. There isn't any good alternatives to waist armor for a long time, so probably pick this up regardless. You should also consider picking up the Lumu hat if you're having trouble with your stamina management. If you're still using the Baroth chest, consider hunting Zetsuyaku to build its chest armor for Constitution, reducing your stamina consumption while dodging. Once you're in the Rotten Vale, you have some upgrade options. You can hunt Hornetars to build the Greaves. You'll be trading Juratotus' Focus for some much needed handicraft. Hammers suffer from low sharpness, so picking up handicraft here is desirable. You'll then have to hunt Radaban. You can make its helmet to give you Slugger, which will up your knockout power. This will be your choice between Radaban's head for Slugger or Stamina Surge from the Lumu hat. Then take on Legiana. Its offerings aren't useful for a hammer, but it will give you access to Monster Bone Plus. This, when combined with Sinister Cloth from the Tail Rider Safari, will allow you to build Death Stench gear. Death Stench gloves grant Focus, and the Greaves grant Handicraft. The Greaves are worth picking up as they have significantly higher defenses than the Hornetar Greaves. Next is Odogaron. Pick up the Odogaron coil for Critical Eye to help reduce the number of feeble hits you'll get on your awesome Baroth or Anja hammer. If you don't like Focus on hammer, you can also pick up the Odogaron Vambraces as well for Constitution. Afterwards, you'll have to hunt Rathalos and Diablos. Both of these monsters have good upgrades, but you are so close to high rank that you may want to skip them, as high rank armor is universally better. Of course, this is an idealized armor guide. Rathalos' chest is the most desired for Weakness Exploit. It does require a plate, but it will be used for a huge chunk of high rank because Weakness Exploit is that good. This is especially true if you're using the Baroth or Anjanath hammer, which have negative affinity that you can largely offset with Weakness Exploit. You can also consider the helmet for attack up. Diablos' chest has Slugger. Weakness Exploit will be preferred to Slugger, and Twisted Horns are usually better spent elsewhere, like the Diablos weapons. The 3-piece set bonus of Bludgeoner isn't bad on hammer, but you will need to sacrifice a lot to get it at this point. The coil grants Marathon Runner. This will be your preference if you prefer it over the Odogaron coil's Critical Eye. Build this set if you want, but it's time to move on to high rank. High rank finally introduces us to some options. There's a lot of upgrades available now, and you can immediately go and hunt high rank versions of everything you fought in low rank. The easy answer is that anything that worked for you in low rank will work here, while providing additional skills in high rank defenses. This guide assumes you have no useful decorations. As such, the beta gear is simply worse than the alpha gear as it loses skills for decoration slots. If you have decorations, consider the beta versions of some pieces, otherwise stick with alpha. The same goes for charms, and this armor guide is charmless. Go ahead and pick up whatever charms you see fit, like attack or handicraft. The Kulu Headpiece Alpha should be a first pickup. Weakness Exploit will allow you to override the negative affinity on many of the better hammers. If you're still using the Death Stench gloves, you can upgrade them to Kestagon Guards Alpha to maintain focus and gain affinity sliding as well as high rank defenses. You should also consider the Bone Vambraces Alpha for Slugger and attack boost. It's arguable which one of these are better, but Bone Vambraces Alpha are likely much more consistent. You will also gain a few options for your boots. You can hunt Juratotus and pick up Juratotus' Greaves. In conjunction with the Kestagon Guards, this will max out your focus and you'll have the fastest charges possible. If you like Handicraft, pick up the Hornetar Greaves Beta to maintain Handicraft and gain a decoration slot as well as high rank defenses. If you prefer Marathon Runner, you can use the Baroth Greaves Alpha for stun resistance and Marathon Runner. These choices are all subjective, they will all have similar performance. After you beat Pink Rathian, you can build the Wrath Heart Coil Alpha, which will give you Handicraft and poison resistance. Handicraft is good, and you can stack it much higher in high rank. This set should make you adequately prepared to take on the higher tier monsters of high rank. Odogaron's set is a reasonable choice. You won't get much benefit out of the set bonuses, but a few pieces are reasonable. It's arguable if they're worth picking up, but the Vambraces Alpha and the Coil Alpha will be reasonable choices to offset the negative affinity of some of your hammers. The next big sets are the Rathalos and Diablos sets. The Rathalos set bonuses will not be beneficial to you at all on hammer since you'll be using a raw hammer. Pick up the Rathalos Male Beta to give you level 2 Weakness Exploit. This will be enough to offset the negative affinity of the Diablos and Baroth hammers and provide a reasonable damage increase. You still won't be getting very many critical hits, if any at all, but it will negate all your feeble hits. If you're feeling up to it, you can pick up the Rathalos head and boots for attack and a final stack of Weakness Exploit. I would consider these two pieces extremely optional since the next set is the real target. You can now reasonably hunt Diablos and Black Diablos. The 2-piece set bonus of Bludgeoner is a nice pickup considering you'll only have a sliver of blue sharpness with the Diablo Shatterer 1, which you should be using. The biggest asset here will be the 4-piece set bonus of Non-Elemental Boost. This adds 10% raw damage to your weapons that don't contain any status or element, which the Diablo Shatterer will, as well as the Baroth Breaker. You have a few choices to make here. You'll want to maintain level 2 Weakness Exploit from the Rathalos chest, so you need to fill out your head, arms, waist, and leg armor with a mix of Diablos and Black Diablos pieces. The easiest choices are the Diablos Nero Helm Alpha for level 2 focus, as the standard Diablos Helm has critical draw, which you won't benefit from much on a hammer. The Diablo Nero Bracers Alpha, which will give you focus on Marathon Runner versus Heroics, which is too risky for most players to benefit from. The Diablos Greaves Alpha are the preferred choice for Tremor Resistance and Slugger. The Nero Greaves grant normal shots, which is strictly for bows and bowguns. Finally, for waist armor, you can choose between the Diablos Coil Beta for maxing out Marathon Runner and a slot, or the Diablos Nero Coil Alpha for Resentment and Part Breaker. This set is not easy to build by any stretch of the imagination and will require multiple Majestic Horns and Black Spiral Horn Plus, but will provide the very valuable non-elemental boost skill. You do end up giving up a lot of other good skills to get it, but this will represent a huge damage spike. This set will be adequate for everything else in the game. Everything after this is just a matter of customization and preference. Once you get a non-elemental boost decoration, you will free up all of your armor options. Of course, if you're using the Nergigante hammer, you won't benefit from non-elemental boost, so you can pick up some other gear choices. Hammer really favors stacking as much attack power as possible. Nergigante's set is reasonable, but not exceptional. It has a good amount of attack bonuses and stamina surge. Agitator has a reasonably high uptime for further increased attack and affinity. Maximum Might can also be utilized effectively on hammers during your Big Bang combo, but you will not be able to utilize it for a short time after performing a charging attack. The Nergigante Coil Beta is an extremely valuable piece of gear and should be picked up. The Dragon King Eye Patch has Weakness Exploit level 2 and a tier 3 decoration slot, making it a good pickup, especially once you get a Weakness Exploit decoration or non-elemental boost decoration. After Nergigante, you can build the Dober set by using Elder Dragon Bones and Elder Dragon Blood. Build the Dober Male Beta for attack 2 and a slot. The Dober Greaves Alpha or Beta also have a good amount of attack power. Teostra's gloves give more weakness exploit options. You can tie the Teostra Greaves Beta with the Dragon King Eye Patch to max out weakness exploit and gain valuable decoration slots. In an ideal scenario, you'll get to at least level 4 Handicraft to push the Diablo Shatterer 2 to white sharpness, and the easiest way to do this is with a Handicraft Charm 3 and the Death Stench Heal Beta, which will max out your sharpness. These will be available to you after beating Valhazak. This is what your endgame hammer set could look like. It's just a matter of adding more skills as you unlock more decorations. Keep in mind, some of these should be the beta versions for the decoration slots, like the Teostra Vambraces, and I only have a level 2 Handicraft Charm on to push Handicraft to level 4, but 5 is the ideal.